iPhone 12 is a lot of things, but being an Android device is not one of them. Alright, so quite recently I picked up the iPhone 12 to use as my primary device, and a lot of you might be thinking this is very weird because I am a hardcore Android enthusiast. I have used only Android phones for the last 8 years, and this channel is based on me telling you guys cool things that you can do with your Android devices. So why did I change my decision after 8 years of using Android, and what did I find out after switching to Android to the iPhone 12 in the middle of 2020? That's what today's video topic is about. So without any further ado, what's up guys, Anvav here. Welcome to today's video. Today we are talking about an Android user's perspective and experience after using Android for a long time and then switching to an iOS device, and essentially what you can expect if you're planning to make the switch and whether it is worth it or not. With that said, be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and without any further ado, let's get started. Alright, so before we start, just want to get this out of the way that this is not going to be a typical Android versus iOS sort of a video or even a review for the iPhone 12. I'm not going to be talking about the tech specifications that you can read up on any website out there and the plethora of videos that have already been made. I'm going to be sharing my experience after using Android for a long time. So first things first, before switching to the iPhone 12, I was using the OnePlus 8 as my primary device. And if you guys know, this is actually a pretty capable device. The phone that I have, the variant that I own, was the Interstellar Glow variant. This has 12 gigabytes of RAM, and honestly this just flows through everything that I have thrown at it. I have never suffered any lags or hiccups or any major performance issues whatsoever because this is pretty much a flagship device. It also has a 90 Hz refresh rate, which means that it's actually smoother in theory compared to the traditional 60 Hz iPhones. Now I did expect that iPhone 12, even the 12 Pro lineup, would have ProMotion displays like the iPad Pro, at least a 90 Hz or probably even a 120, but that did not happen this year. But more on that later. This is where I was coming from. So why did I switch to the iPhone 12? No, it was not because I just had a lot of money to burn and I decided, oh, let's just get an iPhone. Now, one of the main reasons why I switched to the iPhone 12 was because for the longest time I have been fascinated by mobile photography and videography and how good smartphones have become. If you guys follow this channel for a long time, you know that you guys have seen a lot of videos on this topic. And one of the main reasons for me wanting to switch to an iPhone was because of the absolutely stellar photography and video capabilities that I had seen on the phones such as the 11 and even the 11 Pro. Moving that, when we come to the iPhone 12, I think iPhone video has become even better, and honestly, I got this phone just for the cameras, which is why I think I'll have a different perspective of someone who switches from Android to iOS to get either better performance or to just try out the Apple ecosystem. I had nothing to do with the ecosystem. I was here just because I wanted the best video camera on a smartphone, period. Now, talking about the camera on the iPhone 12, once again, a main reason for me to switch was because, as we all know, OnePlus phones are great in performance and in day-to-day, value for money versus the amount of cash that you pay. But more importantly, OnePlus cameras have never really been that good, and obviously they are not as good as the latest flagship cameras. And considering the fact that the iPhone 12 has the same sensors as the 12 Pro, minus the telephoto, which I honestly think isn't worth it considering the price gap, especially here in India. And more importantly, these phones now can record 10-bit Dolby Vision HDR, which is a whole entire thing. I've already spoken about it in depth in my iPhone 12 camera review, so feel free to click on the card above and check that video out. Now, more importantly, I want to talk about smartphone video because this just blows everything out of competition. We've got 4K 60 FPS, and this 60 FPS is buttery smooth. If you guys have seen the cinematic video test, once again, card above, you're welcome. You guys already know what I'm talking about. The video that comes out of this smartphone does not need any stabilization. It does not require any tripods or smartphone gimbals. You can just go guerrilla style handheld with it and still end up with super stellar and smooth footage with no jitters or shakes. It's great for vlogging. It's great for a lot of things, and this is what I felt like I really wanted to get. Now, the cameras are obviously a huge plus. Another thing that was unveiled this year was the MagSafe functionality. I'm not going to talk about that because honestly I feel like everybody else has already covered it, and more often than not it just feels like a gimmick to me. It's one of the most classic Apple things to do: create a problem and then charge people money to solve that problem. We've already seen this before from Apple. It's the most Apple thing they could do. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about that. Moving on, a couple of cons about switching to the Apple ecosystem, or whatever they call it, is obviously a customization. Now, of course, your Anubhav Roy is a huge customization freak, and while I did try to customize this phone as much as I could while staying within Apple's restrictions, again, video above if you want to customize your iPhone. I know I'm sick and tired of plugging these videos too, but hey, there's actual work put into them, and I think you guys might actually like them. Now, moving on from that, yes, you can customize your iPhones now with iOS 14 and the new widgets and everything, but the amount of trouble that you have to go through, number one, pay real money to buy some of these icon packs. Literally thousands of them are free on the Google Play Store for Android. Number two, going through the entire Siri shortcuts thing to open an application, or finding a workaround. Either of them, it's very time consuming, not as simple and as easy as you can, and nowhere close to the amount of variety that you can have when it comes to customizing your Android device. So those are a few things that I do miss about having an iPhone and not having an Android. But most importantly, one of the things that I think will make me stick to using the iPhone 12 as my primary device while I'm using the OnePlus 8 as a secondary device that I used to make videos on and just to get my Android wholesomeness in it is the optimization. Now, this is coming from a person who is the farthest thing from an Apple fanboy. I've never used Apple products in my life. I had a MacBook Pro, used it for a year, sold it because it didn't work out for me. It's a little iffy now because I have the current iPad Pro 2020, but I'm still working on it. A video should be out on it soon if you want to know my thoughts on this device as well. But most importantly, the way Apple optimizes their software is really one of a kind. I mean, even I have to accept it after being a hardcore Android enthusiast. Doesn't really matter how many gigs of RAM you have. In theory, this phone has 12 gigs of RAM. This phone has 4 gigs of RAM. But I can definitely argue that this is just as fast or even better in certain scenarios when it comes to day-to-day usage. And the 60 Hz screen is not much of a problem either. Even if you're shifting from a 90 Hz display like I am, the way 60 Hz works on Apple phones, and most importantly, the animations are so clean inside the UI and there is so little lag or jitter, they look just as good. I wouldn't say better, but just as good as a 90 Hz panel. Honestly, the animations are super cool. The touch is very responsive. I don't know if the touch sampling rate has been increased in this year's iPhone lineup, but this genuinely does not feel like a step down or like a generic Android 60 Hz display. It really is next level. Now, moving on from that to general day-to-day usage and call quality, that was great. I had a few hiccups here and there, but I think Jio is to blame for that more than Apple or the iPhone in itself. More importantly, one of the things that I really experienced was a big change was the battery life. So before using the OnePlus 8, I was using the Samsung Galaxy S10, which, by the way, great phone, great display, but absolutely horrible battery life, just like most of Samsung's lineup. I mean, the OnePlus 8 was still giving me a bit of average good battery life, 6.5 hours of screen on time. The iPhone 12 gives me about 8 hours or 7.5 hours of screen on time every single day. This is a great phone, and honestly, one of the words that I could find for this was how reliable it is. This is genuinely one of the most reliable phones that I have ever used. It feels like this is a phone that I can trust on even on 50% charge when I go out of the house and just use it for an entire day, and I come back late at night. I still have a little bit of juice before I have to plug it in. I really love that. I really love the fact that I can rely on a phone, because every time I used to go out with my Samsung Galaxy S10, my phone 9 out of 10 times would switch off, run out of juice, and it was just a horrible experience, even though that was a really great phone. So that is really nice to see. Speaking of chargers, yes, you do have to buy an external brick, but I never had any iOS devices before, so I didn't really mind, but I do understand why that could be a problem. But hey, more Android manufacturers are moving towards the same thing, so I don't think anybody is going to complain about them anymore. Moving on from that, I feel like in conclusion, the iPhone 12 is a great smartphone. I wouldn't advise anybody to go for the 12 Pro, especially here in India. If you can get it from outside, good for you, but the price jump just for the telephoto lens and a little bigger display and the sensor shift or whatever it is, I don't really think it's worth it. I've seen samples online and I'm pretty sure I can click very similar pictures, and more importantly, people need ultra wide lenses compared to telephoto lenses. So you already have this over here. Everything else is absolutely the same. There is no difference in the panels, the displays, the other camera sensors, or anything in general other than the design. So yeah, I feel like the iPhone 12 is a great phone to get. If you already have a lot of iOS devices, this is obviously a no-brainer. You obviously have one of these devices right now. If you do not have an iOS device, you enjoy the customizability and the freedom of Android, then stick to an Android smartphone. But if you want a phone that has very good camera quality like me, and number two, you need something that is reliable, consistent, and is gonna keep being a very good phone for the next 5 to 6 years, I think this is the phone to get. And yeah, that is pretty much it from an Android user's perspective. Hopefully it didn't disappoint a lot of you hardcore Android fans, and hopefully I won't be shamed in the comments below. I still both love iOS and Android, and honestly, I'm just using both, so I have the best of both worlds. There's nothing to fight about really. And yeah, that is pretty much it. If you guys like this video, feel free to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. This took quite a while to make, and yeah, Utkarsh and I both worked really hard for it. So yeah, thumbs up, check him out, links below. With that said, this is Anubhav signing out. I'll catch you guys next time. Something really cool is about to happen in the start of 2021. I'll keep you guys posted for that. With that said, I'll catch you guys next time. You guys have a great day. Stay safe. Peace out.